That's where we transition to have our next discussion, because we do know government has set aside what they call a stimulus package. It's called the Coronavirus Alleviation Program. It's a business support scheme. And we want to have an interaction with Madam Armo-Himbson. She is a Deputy Executive Director for the National Board for Small-Scale Industries. They are the main entity that is supervising all this. And we want to ask some key questions. Okay, so straight away, let's do those discussions. And thank you for joining me in the studio.
Thank you very much, Roland.
No, great. No, great. At the latter section of this discussion, we'll be joined by Dr. Lord Mensah, Senior Lecturer with the Finance Department of the University of Ghana Business School, just to complement the discussion, to also encourage others, businesses, mid-size, to be able to join. But how much has been allocated for this whole support scheme?
COVID-19 was declared a global pandemic, and just as it hit other nations, it also hit Ghana really hard. In terms of numbers, you know, we haven't really seen too many cases, but in terms of the effect, a lot of businesses have really been distressed. So that is why government established the fund. 1 billion cedis was set aside for the whole program, but 600 million cedis was set aside to support the micro, the small, and the medium enterprises. So 600 million cedis was set aside by the President, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo Dankwa.
Okay, so it is the 600 package, 600 million Ghana cedi package that
Yes.
NBSSI is managing.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So if somebody is interested, or a business is interested, how do they first get access?
Okay. What they need, there are two main stages that somebody who is interested in the loan would have to go through. We have the registration phase. That really seeks to take data on people who are interested, because then it gives us an idea, you know, how to really allocate the funds, how we can really be able to support those who are interested in the fund. And then from the registration phase, you go into the application. Now, there are various channels. When you want to register, you can go through a USSD code. *718 *555 hash. So that really takes you into the application, the registration phase, where you are asked just a few questions. You know, your TIN number, we take your TIN number, we take your name, we take the kind of, the amount of loan that you would really want to request for. So once you are through with that registration phase, then you get a reference code. You know, once you go through registration, you get an SMS telling you that your registration has been successful, and then you are given a unique reference code that you use to move on to the next phase of application. So that is one channel for the registration. Then you can also go straight on the web. You know, this whole thing is being done on a web portal, which has been specifically designed to really take you through registration, through application. The assessment is all done online. The scoring is done, because we've done a lot of work with the banks who are going to disperse the funds. So all of that is done online. Then, you know, once the application is assessed and you are successful, you still get the SMS telling you that your application has been successful, is being assessed, you know, so that eventually, depending on whether the loan is approved or not, you still get a message. And then it also indicates where you have to, you know, really go for the loan. But through the application process, you indicate where your bank account is. So then, if those banks are one of the PFIs, then you can just go there and pick up your loan. But otherwise, we also have other banks that you may be directed to go to if your bank account is not with one of the participating financial institutions. But we also recognize the fact that many people are also not technology savvy. Especially, we are targeting the very micro businesses, you know, those who sell in our markets. They sell all kinds of things, vegetables,
banana,
shoes, you know, whatever. We are targeting all of them. The cocoa seller by the street, we are targeting them. So it's really for everybody, because we know that COVID-19 has really affected all of us one way or the other. Businesses have been seriously affected, so we are targeting all of them. So what we also, the other channel is for you to pick an application form, a hard copy, and then you can fill it. We are working very closely with the associations. You know, they have identified some people who have IT, you know, knowledge and skills. We train them, and then they go to support the association members to really input the data on the portal, so that they can also be served. Otherwise, it will be very difficult.
The physical form that you pick, is it for free?
It is for free. So then I would use this opportunity to really alert everybody. There are fraudsters going around, you know, selling forms for 200 CDs, for 300, promising people that they can help them to really get the loans. But that is all really very, very untrue. They don't need to pay a peso for whatever service they are provided. And then we also have our business advisory centers. They are in 178 districts. So you don't need to move all the way from Paga to Accra to get, you know, to apply for the loan. Wherever you are, you just walk into the BAC office and you will get the support you need. Or if you are a member of an association, then you can also go to the association for support, really to be able to apply for the loan. The
business advisory services, or those support offices, are they already active in the various districts?
So they've been active ever since. You know, MPSSI was established in 1981 by an act of parliament. We became operational in 1985. So ever since, you know, we've been providing business development support services to micro, small and medium enterprises. We've been helping them to access funds. It's not only under COVID that we are doing this kind of thing. We've been doing it over the years. We support people to have access to markets, you know, access to technology, and everything that goes along with business. We very essentially also help people to formalize. Once they get in touch with us, we make sure that we support them so they can move from one level to the other.
Of the business?
Yes.
Now, we do know that we have a lot of informal businesses.
Yes, we do.
And I do know that you just mentioned here the normal retailers in the communities or in the markets. Does it include hawkers as well?
They do. We really look at all of them.
Okay.
You know, before COVID, we're really focusing on informal sector, but people who are in productive activities. But we realize that we also need to take a look at those other kinds of informal sector clients. So we are working seriously towards really getting them to up their game so that they can also contribute effectively to the economy.
Now, there is a related issue about how do you get to verify and identify who really has a business or is in that level of the micro retail sector?
Okay, we have some definitions that we normally use to classify the various types of businesses. So we have, the categories are mainly the micro, the small, and the medium. Now for our purposes, we are looking at the lower small and also the upper small. So in terms of definition, we look at number of employees and then also turnover. Basically, that is in other countries, other factors are also looked at, like assets, investment in assets and all of that. But to make our life simple, based on research that we conducted, we look mainly at number of employees and turnover. So for the micro, we are looking at businesses that employ from 1 to 5. 1 to 5. The owner is included in this number. And then for the small, we are looking at businesses employing 6 to 29. And then for the medium, we are looking at 30 to 99. Now, in terms of turnover, for the micro, we look at 25,000 Ghana cedis, up to 25,000. For the small, we are looking at 1 million Ghana cedis, and then for the medium, 3 million.
So, to these categories, what is going to be the likely beneficiary disbursement to them if they qualify?
Are you talking about the...
What can they access?
What can they access?
In terms of quantum?
You know, when you start putting limits, then you also really... people are likely to go for the highest, even though they may not really need it. So what we are saying, you have needs. The government is using this opportunity to give some hope. It's a relief fund. It's really for people to be able to sustain their businesses, you know, so the businesses don't collapse. So, for instance, we are giving them funds to buy a bit of raw materials, you know, to process. We are giving them the loan to enable them maybe pay their rent, because in these hard times, it's really very difficult for people even to pay their rent. We are providing the loan so they can also pay their workers, so that they don't need to be laid off. You know, if they lay the workers off, then it also imposes a lot of hardship on them, on their families. So this is a relief period. Maybe if you need some small tools, if you're a hairdresser, for instance, you need maybe a dryer, you know, small things, then the funds is available to you to be able to
But you don't want to put figures to anything?
They need just to put in their request, and would deal with it.
So we'll come to the related issue about after the application, what happens. We've been joined by Dr. Lord Mensah, Senior Lecturer, University of Ghana Business School with the Finance Department. And it's basically to complement our discussion so that we put everything into perspective. Good morning to you, Dr. Lord Mensah.
Good morning, Roland, and good morning to our viewers. And good morning to my colleague in the studio.
Yes, it's been a while I've seen your face, and it looks like now the COVID has taken its toll. The beard.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, but it's good. But what do you make of this great relief package that has been put forward by government in the first place?
Well, if you look at the effect of COVID, I mean, the stagnation in the economy, and then possibly halting businesses here and there, obviously it's a good call. I mean, every government is providing stimulus package. Every government is finding a way to make sure that, you know, they stimulate the economy, re-energize the economy for their people to be active again in the economy. But then let's also not forget that these are taxpayers' money. And in the end, the money was sourced by spending by the government. You know, government invested a lot in revenue collection. So effectively, how we're going to spend it, we need to be careful and we need to be circumspect, you know, because if you take this money coming to NBSSI, I see it to be money that is coming with zero interest from the government. But then channel it to NBSSI to the individuals who are benefiting. The last time I heard was about 5% being charged on it. Now, I'm expecting that by the end of this project, I mean, I see this to be a project by the government, which is being handled by NBSSI. I'm expecting that NBSSI will be self-sufficient because they are enjoying some spread of about 5%, which possibly, you know, they got the money more or less in a zero interest rate form. And this money has been put in the bank, earning some interest on it. So I'm expecting by the end of this project, they will commission a kind of cost-benefit analysis to tell us, you know, the benefits that the country has made, looking at the multiplier effect, taking into consideration the jobs that has been created, you know, the jobs that were supposed to be lost, the possible tax revenues that the government has made as a result of, you know, getting the economies back at that sector into active again, and then also telling us the cost of course is the 600 million that we are pumping into, this project. So for me, they shouldn't look at it as if it's a cadeau or more or less a money that is coming from the government and that it is free, and therefore anybody can work it. Now, I've seen on their website the various criteria and industrial, categorizations of those who can benefit, for which I'm happy, because they target, the health sector, those who are producing, during this COVID, to meet this COVID era, and then manufacturing sector, agriculture, water and sanitation, education, you can name them, which I'm happy with it. But then I want to see it as a money that is going with some responsibility. And in the end, by the end of the project, they should be accountable to Ghanaians and tell us that this was the benefit that we got from the project. Therefore, going from now on, NBSSI can be self-sufficient. Well, and let's look at what is required for a bank to be established. The minimum capital requirement for a bank is about 400 million Ghana cedis. NBSSI is having about 600 million. That's more or less a full-fledged bank, which should be able to operate to the extent that they can show us, their balance sheets, the assets that they've created out of this liability that the government has given to them on a zero interest margin. So for me, that is what I'm looking out for. It is a good call. Every government is providing stimulus packages to their citizens to re-energize the economy. Let's see it as an investment the government is making. In the end, the government will look out for returns. And returns, not just calling out the numbers of microfinance companies that you've touched on. No, we need returns in terms of benefits that we've created, jobs that has been created, jobs that could have been lost and now they are active again, new ones that has been created. We need all those numbers after the project. So in about 1 year time, I expect NBSSI to come back to Ghanaians to account for this money.
Yeah, he's an academician, so he's on the sideline, he's observing. So then I have to ask you, for this whole business support scheme, what for NBSSI and indeed the government of Ghana is the expected outcome?
Government in its announcement specified that, we needed, even though the fund would actually be set up by NBSSI, we needed to work with some selected banks. We needed to work with associations and trade groups. We needed to work with other stakeholders, that would really help us to effectively and efficiently deliver the fund. So even though the money comes into MBS, it doesn't sit there at all. We have allocations for a number of banks that we are working with. And let me stress the point here too, that government really had in mind to support the Ghanaian-owned banks, really to get on their feet using this
and these inflows were one of them. Fantastic.
So then we've done a lot of interaction with the banks and we have selected some who we are going to work with. So what happens is that the monies are given out to the banks. Several allocations are given to the banks. So it is out of those funds that they also disburse the funds to the applicants. Now what is also important is that once, the bank, the funds hit the account of NBSSI in a particular bank, they bear the full risk of really ensuring that repayment is done. Now, initially, the government in his announcement stated that the loans under the scheme was supposed to go for 5%. But looking at the hardship and suffering around, government reconsidered and now it's 3%. That 3%
per annum.
Yes, it's per annum. That 3% doesn't come to NBSSI. It's for the banks who take the full risk. But the repayments would be used to establish a fund to continue to support micro, small, and medium enterprise, even after COVID.
To be managed by?
To be managed still in this kind of arrangement.
But with NBSSI?
We don't want people to see us as, dishing out the funds. Otherwise, they put the government tag on it, and they are not willing to pay back. But once the banks have been imbued with that responsibility, then it's up to them to ensure that whatever funds go out are also, recovered. And then we have also put in place a number of arrangements. We are also working very closely with the associations to also bear some kind of responsibility. They know their members. We try to verify the membership of those who apply with them. And then they are also expected to monitor to ensure that the funds are properly used. And then they are also repaid. Our business advisory centers are also involved in this. They are also expected to monitor. Of course, the banks also have the largest responsibility to ensure that whatever funds go out also come back.
So do we know the number of targeted businesses then?
We are targeting about 200,000 businesses. 200,000 businesses. Right, people do the calculation and think that then averagely an applicant can get only 3,000. But there's a huge informal sector where people just need maybe 500, 600,000 cedis to really turn around their businesses. If somebody is selling tomatoes, they can do a lot with 2,000 Ghana cedis. If somebody is selling cocoa, how much do they need? And we are really getting those people to apply. And then that is where we get our numbers. But those who are looking for the bigger loans, maybe, may not be that many. But we are really serving the informal sector. So, we can really reach a good number of people.
Dr. Lord Mensah, in order to complement the efforts of the MBSSI and all that, what could be some of the best advice ultimately to, one, prevent maybe non-performing loans that they may ultimately give out to their targets, and then what could they do in the area of recoveries?
Well, clearly, if you look at a typical deposit taking institution and lending institution, there are clear credit risk management processes that they take these borrowers through. Those due diligence processes are very, very important in giving out credit. Now, identifying the business location is very, very important. Now, that is why, the online thing, I do buy into it, but then that will work some way, somehow, partially. Because for you to, understand whether a business will be able to pay, whether a business has been in operation for some time now, it's enough collateral to lend to that business. Now, on-site, visiting to get to know, the type of business that is going on, the fixed assets that the business already has, it's very, very important so that the little that you give to this business, they take off. I don't see this money to be a money that, businesses that are starting up clearly should go for it. I see it to be monies that are supposed to go to already existing businesses that are defunct as a result of this, COVID. So I'm expecting kind of on-site visit. I don't know of the capacity of NBSSI at the district level and then at the various regional levels. I think they might not have that capacity to do this job of going on site to see what structures are in place. I remember these are what we call it, small scale companies. And in the end, you need some structures in place. So even if it's a hairdressing, you expect that it will be a kiosk on the site. How do you see the kiosk on the site? Is he going to take pictures to load on the website? Does the website make provision for all these things? Is it not somebody's assets that he's going to take a picture and he's showing it as what? A base asset for him to access this fund? I can see a lot of activities are going on their website, trying to ensure that they identify the right people to lend to. But I can tell you that in Ghana, the on-site, visit is very, very important. So I would advise that, fine, whilst they are doing that, they're working on the soft aspect of delivering the loan, they should look at the hard one by doing some legwork and going to the site to see what structures are in place as far as these applicants are concerned.
What assurances then can you give people like Dr. Lord Mensah, who is in academia but also in entrepreneurship at one point?
I would want to assure him that that is why we have put a lot of systems in place to ensure that we really identify those who are applying and also monitor to ensure that they repay. You know, the system has APIs worked into it. So when people put in their TIN numbers, which is a requirement, immediately it's validated, and then we get a feedback. It imports all the basic data, the name, so they don't even need to type in all of that. So that is one thing. They also need to get a valid ID. All of that is also validated in the system. And then that is why I'm saying that we have the PFIs who are monitoring. Before the applicant receives the funds, they need to see the person. They need to really go and inspect the person's site and ensure that there's an active business really going on. This fund is really meant for existing businesses.
Yeah.
So that is why one of the criteria is for the person to have operated 6 months before March. That is when we had our first few cases of COVID-19. So all of that is done. The business advisory centers are also there to really go and see the place. The associations are verifying. This is our member. This is where he or she operates. So that is why we put in place all the structures to ensure that the monies are not just given out as cado, but they also are paid back. And then there are clear outcomes that we are really working towards. We are saying that the fund has been established. That is one of our deliverables, that 200,000 MSMEs would be supported under the fund. That is one of our deliverables. And that about 3,000 MSMEs would use the opportunity to also improve their productivity. Because it's not just a funding bit, but we are also adding technical assistance, providing training in how to keep books of accounts and all of that, getting people to formalize their businesses. That is why government is insisting on TIN. You should get a TIN before you are saved. So we are doing all that. We are getting them to register with the Registrar General's Department. We are getting them to certify their products with the regulatory institutions like GSA, FDA, and all of that. So it's not just a financial assistance. We are also adding on the technical assistance bit to make it a comprehensive package.
Again, before we let you go, and our time is up because we gave you 8 o'clock. What again can you say by way of the assurances and then the caution to the public and your target groups about the fraudsters in the system?
So our attention has been brought to the fact that a lot of people are going around with printed forms, you know, assuring people that they can help them to really access the funds. And they take all kinds of, you know, money from these people. We are really cautioning that any applicant doesn't have to pay any money to anybody. You know, one of the criteria was for people to become clients of MBSSI. So we are doing a lot of registration. But even for that one, we waived the fee. You know, we don't want that impression created that you need to really pay before you get the loan. So we have waived our fee for June and July so that people can freely register and do what they want to do so they can really access the funds.
Well, it's been a great educative time with you, and we'll take it on from there.
Thank you.
We've had in the studio Deputy Executive Director for the National Board for Small-Scale Industries. They are managing the 600 million Ghana cedi business support scheme called the Coronavirus Alleviation Program. And we know that government, as the President announced, has dedicated this in total 1 billion Ghana cedis to support businesses and 600 to various micro, small, medium scale enterprises. Well, we'll see how we can move on from this conversation. Make sure that if you want all the relevant updates, you get on to the website of MBSSI. But that'll be it for now. Thank you for joining me in the studio. But Dr. Lord Mensah, I also do know that it's an anniversary for you. Do you know that it's your anniversary?
Yeah, we've been married for 15 years now.
15 years? Fantastic. Okay. Is your wife around there? Let me just say hello to her so that...
I think she's out there. She's
out there, yeah. It's been some good and torrid times. Marriage is always a good and some challenging period as an institution. Oh, yeah. So we wish you all the best in the years ahead of you in this beautiful union you have.
Thank you.
And then I'll say, per my experience, your wife should have a lot of patience for you.
Oh yeah. She has it, and she's growing on it.
Well, Dr. Lord Mensah, happy marriage anniversary. 15 years in that institution, big one. You're almost like the MBSSI now.
Oh,
big
yes,
institution.
Yes.
Yes, of course, since 1981. Well, we wish you well for the day, Dr. Lord Mensah. And we know that restrictions are in place, but some good lunch would do for you and the family.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have a backyard lunch, so...
That'll be good also. But next, we have to transition and have the next discussion. We'll have a one-on-one discussion with the man himself, actor turned politician. We're talking about John Dumelo, and Gifty Andrew Appiah is going to talk to John Dumelo about the battle for the Ayawaso West Wogon seat. It's coming up next.